Hello there, and welcome to the first of these videos. It's all about becoming a successful published author. And today I and Tom Singleton Jr. and I'm Gina Gardiner are going to talk to you about our experiences as published authors. But before we get started, let me share our bios. Tom Singleton Jr. is a published author of several books and is the creator of Tom Publications, providing mentoring and empowerment coaching to emerging authors to help them launch successful writing platforms. Tom is passionate about seeing humanity at large reach their greater potential, along with using his talents and platforms as vehicles of expression to demonstrate his effective leadership. My name's Gina Gardiner. I'm a multiple #1 international best-selling author and have written many books. I'm also the host of the W4CY Leadership for Life TV and radio program. And my work is all about personal empowerment and the development of enlightened, profitable leadership. And so we're going to share with you through this series of videos our thinking about why you should become an author and how to do it effectively and efficiently. But let's get started. Tom, why do you think that people should become an author, and why specifically should they self-publish rather than go through a traditional publisher?
Well, for starters, I think being an author, that's a good way to express yourself. Some people like myself, I would say I'm better at expressing myself with a pen and paper or keyboard than with words. And that's a good way to, express yourself. And then in my case, writing started out as an outlet for me and a way to express myself. And then, I had an increased number of people telling me that I'm good at writing. So I just, and that I should write books. It started out as an outlet for me, and then it turned into a passion. And then I realized sometime in 2012, after hooking up with, Alan Nicole, that writing was a gift that I needed to be using. And to answer your question about self-publishing, a major advantage to self-publishing is that you get access to the same level of online retail distribution as a traditional publisher. But the biggest advantages to it, you have complete control of your content that you put out, instant publication where you can get your stuff published within 24 to 48 hours, and no more than 72 hours. You get guaranteed publication, you get higher royalties, and your book hit the market faster.
Certainly that's been my experience. When I wrote my first 2 books, I wanted those books to give me the credibility from moving from the world of education into the world of business, particularly around leadership. And I approached one of the traditional publishers, and they were very keen on the book, and they said yes, they would publish it. But what I discovered was that they kept on saying, well, we'd like you to change this, and we want the structure of that to be different. And so it was going to end up as being a completely different book. It was going to take 18 months before it even got to the point of being published, and they would have all control. And so it made me recognize that if I wanted control, as you say, and if I wanted to do it in my own time scale, then I needed to do it differently. And so I chose the self-publisher route. But in those days, this was 2006, there was no Amazon online. You couldn't publish easily, and you certainly couldn't publish for nothing. These days, life has got so much easier in terms of self-publishing. So what's your take on self-publishing? I know we're going to be talking about the practicalities in our next video, But for you, you've written many books now. What are the things that you think about in terms of the self-publishing, that if someone's listening to this and thinks, you know, I fancy a book, I'm writing a book, but I'm not sure how to get started. Are there things that people need to think about before they get actually down to the writing of the book? As I say, we're going to talk about the practicalities of writing in the next book. Perhaps you can do that by sharing your writing journey. So it started as an outlet. When did you first start actually publishing books, and how many have you published, and how has that grown in terms of your development?
Well, I published my first book in January 2014, and my total number of books now is up to 30. And I got a couple more of them I'm working on right now at the same time. And again, you know, with self-publishing, like I said, you got complete control of whatever content that you put out. It's completely at will and non-exclusive. You know, as both the author and the publisher, you know, you got the final say on every aspect of your book, and you can upload it anytime, make it available for sale, and you can take it down anytime you feel like it. You know, you decide what edits to put in, you know, how you design, layout, or look, and you can upload new versions anytime you feel like it. You can charge whatever you want to for the book, go back and change it later if you feel like. You can even sell your work through multiple distribution services on your own website too. You know, you decide how to market your book too.
Now, I think people who are listening to this may not be aware that you can publish on Amazon for free through KDP. And I believe that's the system that you use too, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And like I said, it's guaranteed publication. You know, you guaranteed to be a published author when you choose to self-publish.
Lots of people may think that it's, you know, very technical. You know, it's online. It's very challenging. How have you found the actual process of getting your books delivered and published once they're written? You know, the actual process of using KDP, is that something that you think that most people would be able to do?
It's real easy. They have steps in the program that you can follow, and they make it easy to understand. And you can choose the option to do it without assistance, or you can have assistance. I just always leave it on. You know,
Okay.
just the way I've been using it.
Now, my writing journey was that, to start with, as I say, I wanted I create a level of credibility when I was moving from different markets, from education into business. And so the first two books that I wrote, I actually used professionals I wrote it, but they proofread it, they edited it, they did the setting out. That I had a professional cover designer do the cover. So I did the writing, but I had professionals do everything else. And in those days, that was very expensive. So to self-publish my books at that time cost me about $5 grand per book. And now the reality is that you can publish for free, but it didn't exist in those days. Things have moved on. And then when I wrote my third book, which is called Chariots on Fire, I used a halfway publishing house. So I paid them to do all of the publishing. The challenge was when later on I wanted to give the book away for free as a way of enhancing my email list and contact list. The self-publisher wouldn't let me do it. And so I needed to write a different book. I'd moved on, so I was ready to write anyway. And so then I started to self-publish and recognized that in taking control of the situation, and by that time the technology enabled you to do that, didn't exist before then, So by 2000 and certainly after you started writing, that by this time we're talking about 2018, I started to publish for myself, and I found the experience straightforward and that I liked being in control of the situation. I get some help. My assistant does the formatting for me, but ultimately it's pretty simple. But I recognize that actually by writing a book, you give credibility, authority, and the expertise that you have. And I know that you've written books to support people in a whole range of different themes. You're using your expertise and experience to help others, and doing that in a way that can help the masses, because it's not, once you've written the book, it doesn't take you any more time, does it? Then it all becomes automated. So can you share the sort of themes that you cover in your 30 books? I'm nowhere near your number yet, but what sort of expertise are you sharing? Can you give us some examples of some of your books?
Well, all my books are nonfiction. I don't do fiction. I'm not. I wouldn't call myself an expert at making
Can I just
create
say,
words.
I agree with you. I think that we're talking about sharing expertise in non-fiction books. Writing a novel or a play, very, very different and requires a whole different approach. But in terms of sharing your expertise, what are the areas that you have shared?
Well, my very first book is called Diary of a Mad Pizza Man. You know, I used to deliver pizzas for a living, and that book is mostly um, stuff that the pizza companies don't want people to know.
Oh, right.
And it's got very little to do with the actual pizza product itself, but it's more to do with the framework of the industry. And I tell people exactly what they get into if they decide to do that job, and some of the obstacles they'll be up against. And yeah, most of my books, and then even my last one is about Tourette syndrome and helping to spread awareness of the condition. So most of the stuff I write about is all true stories, and how to navigate through certain situations.
So you're using your experience in life and what you've learned in order to help other people.
Right. If I didn't witness it or experience it myself, then I don't write about it. And then, of course, I write books like sports books too, and like and I and I even have a book on how to write a book.
Yeah.
For new writers. So everything I write about is experience, and like you said, using my experience to help other people.
I think that's such a vital thing, that the sort of books that we are talking about are, how can you save people time? How can you save people heartache? How can you raise awareness? How can you do something more effectively and more efficiently? Because, experience teaches you very often because of things that have gone wrong, doesn't it? And so if you can save those things going wrong because somebody says, don't do it that way, because do it this way, that can be really, really helpful. And if you're listening to this, I'd ask you the following questions. What's your area of expertise and experience in life? Tom's used his experience as someone who has Tourette's to help people with Tourette's, for example. What's your experience professionally? So an example of using your first book in terms of experience of a pizza delivery person. my books are generally speaking about different aspects of leadership, whether you're enlightened leader, whether you're an empath, but ultimately it's writing from what you know. So it's organizing your thoughts and asking yourself, what would help other people avoid or accelerate their journey? You know, how can I help people? And everybody has something that they can offer, whether it's around relationships or diet or their business. And getting to know what you can offer other people and doing that in a very simple way. You know, having a mentor can save you a lot of time, and your books can act as the mentorship for people who are reading them. So urging you to think about yourself as an author, because ultimately then you can reach more people. It's a passive form of income. But for me, the most important thing is that you have something there that can really help other people. So think about your areas of expertise, jot them down. Journaling's a great book. Both Tom and I have got books to help you. Embrace your The Author Within is my book around my experiences as an author and writing the different types of books. And Tom, your book to help authors is called what?
Accelerated Publishing.
So both of those books are designed to help you. They're available on Amazon or on our websites, and you'll find the details in the show notes. But in the second episode, we're going to be talking to you about the process of publishing and the stages you go through, and what's in it for the writer and what's in it for the reader. So join us, please, on the next show. Thank you very much for joining us today. Tom, any final remarks on this recording?
Well, I would just say it's going to be some pros and cons no matter what route you decide to take. But the hardest part of this process is creating. The more you write, the more you harness your creativity. So it's best to just trust yourself and do what you feel works best for you. For me, it's self-publishing all day, every day. And the reason why is because I don't have to ask for permission from the gatekeepers. I don't need it. You know, I don't wait to be chosen. I choose myself.
Brilliant.
That's my advice for people that's wanting to get in the writing.
That's fabulous. Thank you. So join us in the second video, and thank you very much for today. Take care now. Bye-bye.